I look out into the crowd of soon-to-be graduates before me. I'll be the first to admit that there are many, many faces that I've never seen before looking back at me. But I do believe you'd be hard-pressed to find a single face that's unfamiliar to everyone. These past 4 years have been about building relationships with those around us, and each of us has carved out our own little niche here at Birdville High School. You did it, everyone. You're here. Give thanks to those who stood by your side and supported you and made this possible. But don't forget to give thanks to yourself, too. At the end of the day, you were the one who got out of bed every day. You made the grades, and you demonstrated the willingness to succeed. And now it's paid off. The turnaround between me finding out I was salutatorian and having to turn this speech into Dr. Scott was pretty quick. I had about 3 days to write this, so I had to come up with ideas fast. I did my homework, as I know we all have over the past years, and watched many videos of other commencement speeches given by famous people that I might want to emulate. I watched Steve Jobs speak at Stanford, Conan O'Brien speak at Dartmouth, and John F. Kennedy speak at my own future school, American University, among others. I noticed a common theme among all these speakers. They talked a lot about themselves. But I'm not here to do that. I'm not here to talk about me. I'm not even here to talk about you. I'm here to talk about us and what we have to offer the world. I'm sure you've all heard of millennials before. There is some debate over where that generation begins and ends, but I believe that we in the class of 2015 just barely make the cut. We belong to the latest generation to come of age, and we're doing so in a world that is drastically different from that of our parents' time. Millennials were the first to grow up in a world that was dominated by technology and connectedness. They're the 90s kids you read tweets about that are nostalgic for TV shows like Rugrats and Kim Possible. They're the ones who aren't taking out loans to buy homes and aren't signing up for credit cards because of a combination of growing up in the shadow of the Great Recession and the burden of student debt. They're also the ones who can change the world. That's right, everyone. We can do it. I'm sure you've all heard disparaging comments about us. People say we're lazy, entitled, and spend too much time with our heads in our phones. And while there is some truth to that criticism, I believe we have a lot to offer the world that is often overlooked by the older generations. No, we're not perfect, but neither are you. I've heard millennials referred to as the me generation before, and I can't say that I disagree. But the connotation with which I would say that is not by any means negative. Yes, we take selfies, and yes, we're obsessed with the number of favorites on our tweets and likes on our Instagram posts. But is that really anything to hold against us? There's a thin line between confidence and arrogance, healthy self-love and narcissism. But I don't think we've crossed over it yet. Every generation has its quirks and eccentricities, and they're what make us unique and distinct from those who have come before us and those who will come after. Try to find a picture of your parents' hair from the 80s and you'll see what I mean. Maybe selfies are our version of Flock of Seagulls. Don't let anyone tell you that what you're doing is wrong just because it's different. Be unapologetically you, always. In the years following high school, no matter which route you choose to take, be it college or trade school or directly into the workforce, it is important to be yourself. But it may take trying on a few different hats in the meantime to figure out who you really are. Let these next years be about self-discovery and personal growth, and don't let anyone stifle your voice. If there's anything you could say defines us as a generation, it is technology. Specifically, technology that allows us to communicate with one another. We are a part of the most LinkedIn, tech-savvy generation to ever walk the earth, and I think that's something to be proud of. There's definitely something to be said for having the sum of all human knowledge accessible at the end of our fingertips at all times. We know about things seconds after they happen, and then we send out a tweet to let all of our friends know what happened too. In my experience, I've seen social networks like Twitter and Facebook be used as a platform for backwardness and ignorance. But far more often, I've seen them be constructive tools capable of being used for positive change. During the so-called Arab Spring of 2011, entire revolutions were organized on Twitter in the Middle East. No matter what your opinion is on the subject, it is hard to deny that that is impressive. We've got a lot going for us, and we're not going to let anyone tell us otherwise. The senior class officers picked a very astute phrase to be the official quote of the Birdville 2017. Be the change you wish to see in the world. Mahatma Gandhi. While there is debate over whether or not it was Gandhi himself who said this, the message is keenly relevant to this generation regardless. I sat in this very same convention center 2 months ago and heard former President of Israel, Shimon Peres himself, claim that the younger generations are not satisfied with the world they're inheriting. I'll leave it up to you to decide whether or not you agree. I'll also leave it up to you to decide whether or not you'll accept my challenge that I'm putting before you here today on this stage. Will you go forward, find yourself, be yourself, and make a difference? Will you leave the world a better place than you found it? Every generation is given this opportunity, but I believe none have ever been better equipped and more up for the task than us millennials. As you go out into the world, you are the master of your own destiny, and together we control the fate of society. Godspeed, class of 2015.